Hello, I'm Dana. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am here in the tropical D, and not really, it's pretty cold here, so I'm here in my warm, cozy room, and I thought it'd be a good time to come on and chat. I had mentioned something in my last video about not working a regular 9 to 5 job, and I realized that I hadn't really talked about that. So I wanted to just come on today and give a little context behind it. Before I came back to YouTube, I wasn't really sharing a lot of my personal information. But since exposing myself in my book last year, I'm realizing that I'm having to come and explain some things. And so, yeah, and one of those things is why I don't work a regular 9 to 5 job. So, backstory, I did go to school to get my accounting degree, and my plan was to get my CPA. That didn't work out, but I did get my accounting degrees. I have a master's degree in accounting, and I also have a bachelor's degree in business. I've been working since my junior year in high school. I started off being the admin assistant for the counselor at my old junior high school, and I realized my love for numbers even when I was in kindergarten. I would always write out my numbers as high as I can write them out on any scrap piece of paper. And so that was like something that I used to do. So when I got older and I started thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, I came across accounting. And so since that involved numbers, I thought that would be a good career to go into. So that's what I did. After graduating high school, I had just a clerk position at a dental office. And after that, I got my first accounting position with a travel charter company. And I was the accounts payable clerk. So I did that for several years and I progressed in that. And so every job after that was just a progression in accounting. I explored all different areas of accounting. So every job that I had, I was being exposed to other aspects of accounting and finance. So, long story short, my last 9 to 5 job that I had was for an auto manufacturing company, and I worked there for about a year. It was a job that I got when I moved from Cincinnati back to Detroit after I got married. And I don't even know what my position was exactly. Um, it wasn't staff accountant. I can't remember. Anyways, it was a small accounting department. And I really liked my manager, my supervisor, and the people that I worked with. And everything was fine. I was going through a lot around that time, just getting married and dealing with stepkids and all of the newness, moving back here to Detroit, being a wife and a stepmom. So, and then having to start a new job and learn a new job. So it was okay for the most part. That job did involve some things that were new to me, new systems I was learning, but the training aspect of it wasn't that great. It was kind of like I had to figure out things on my own. And so I was doing the best that I could, even when I would go to my supervisor to ask for help. Nothing was really clear. It was kind of, a lot of things were kind of made up on the spot, if that makes sense. So I went along with it, and I was just trying to learn, and I was working a lot of overtime trying to uh, figure things out. So after about a year, I was getting a little disenchanted with the position and not really knowing whether I was doing things right, if that makes sense. It was like I was passing, but I didn't feel like I was understanding everything like I should, and I wasn't really getting the proper guidance to do my job. I really liked my manager, but there was just a lot of things that just weren't clear. And when I would have my reviews, they were okay, and I would just try to work on the things that I needed to get better at. But it was still it was still always this uncertainty. My manager, he would say different things, and I would do what he told me to do. Like, I had the idea that I was getting better until the review came. And it was kind of like a shocker when I would have my reviews, and there would be some things that I would be getting critiqued about, but I didn't know before the review. So I was just getting more and more upset with the position, and never really being clear about what I was doing. And most of the things that I was doing was just done on Excel, and we were trying to get a different system, and I was doing a lot of research on a new system, but then we wouldn't go forward with it for whatever reason. So I talked to Tim, and he let me know, like, if you don't want to stay, you don't have to. Because his thing was always he wanted to get me off my job after 2 years, after being married for 2 years, because his whole idea was that he wanted me to rest, and he wanted to provide for his family. Not that he's a male chauvinist and he wanted me to be at home and just cleaning the house, but he wanted me to just rest and have the freedom to do what I wanted to do, because that's how he grew up. He grew up with his mom never actually working outside the home, and his father supporting the household. And that was just something that he just really wanted to do. He knew everything that I had been through with the cancer, and moving from Cincinnati to Michigan, and just all of the different changes dealing with the stepkids. And so he just wanted me to rest. I was debating, and like, we needed the money, so I was always thinking about that, because it was a good paying job. We were trying to pay down our credit cards and different things like that. So I was trying to work it out. I was trying to stay. And in my head at the time, I really didn't want to find another job. I wanted to make this job work. And so I was getting more and more upset every day I would go. One day I was in a meeting, it was just me and my supervisor, and he was critiquing me about something, and it was like it was something that was completely new. It was like he blindsided me about something, and something that I wasn't doing correctly. And it was just like, I've been like asking questions and just trying to do all of the things to get better, to understand my job better. And so I was sitting in the meeting, and I was just like, my heart started to beat so fast, because I was just like, well, stepping back. So when Tim and I talked about it, and I was just kind of thinking like, I'll stick it out, and I felt bad about leaving. So I stayed, and I tried to make it work. And so I stayed for maybe, I don't know, maybe a month or two. And one day I was meeting with my supervisor, and we were just talking about something, a report. And it was kind of like he blindsided me about, kind of like, for the salary that he was paying me, he wasn't getting his money's worth. It was kind of like that. So as I was sitting there listening to him, my heart started beating. And so I was just listening, and I was trying to hear him out to see where this meeting was going and what I was going to do. And in my mind, I was like, this is it. This is it. Like, no, I'm not, no. Like, I was done. It was like I was done with the job, but I also didn't want to hurt him, because he was a fun person to get along with. I really didn't want to leave him hanging. But at the same time, the way he was coming at me, and I had tried to get the help that I needed, and I just wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting clarity. It was just like I was done. And so I let him finish talking. And then I said, I don't know how I said it, but it was like, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice. No, actually, I didn't put in my 2 weeks notice. This is the thing. I had already had my letter of resignation, like from a month or two prior. It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. While I was sitting in that meeting, it was like, it is time. I think he was so stunned. I don't remember what I said after that, but I just let him know, like, yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and leave. Like, he was probably like, I know he was thinking like, how can I just quit a job just like that? And it was such a relief. It was like, even though my heart was beating and I felt bad that I was leaving him hanging, it was still the best feeling ever to just be like, yeah, screw this, I'm done. And I got back to my desk. I vaguely remember what happened after that, but I don't even think I worked another week there. Yeah, so that's how I left that job. And the funny thing about this job was, when I started working there on the floor where my office was, there was this showcase cabinet that had sewing machines. I would pass the showcase every day, and I would think to myself that I wanted to get back into sewing. I had never had a sewing machine. When I grew up, I would use my mom's sewing machine, and I took a class when I was maybe 15 or 16 at our church, and I made an outfit or two with my aunt. I had never sewn anything by myself. Like every day, it was this seed being sown that I was going to start sewing. And in the middle of my time there, I actually told Tim that I was going to start sewing. And he was like, he looked at me like, I didn't know you sewed. And honestly, I didn't either. Because, like I said, I had never sewn anything myself, by myself. Like I had never cut out a pattern by myself. I had never put anything together by myself. When I was a kid, I would put things together for my dolls. And I remember I would taper my pants. But over the years, I just had this thing that I wanted to start sewing again. And I believe that that's why I actually went to that job, is to get my sewing machine, because when I told him that I wanted to start sewing, I, because our company manufactured sewing machines, I don't know if I said that, and so I would talk to the lady that was over that department and got the prices of a sewing machine as well as a serger, and it really wasn't that bad at all. Like I think I paid maybe less than $200 for both of them, and for both of them together. And it's a really good serger. I still use that serger to this day. I have not had any problems with it. It's a Toyota brand, and I also have my Toyota sewing machine, and that's how I actually started sewing. After it was all said and done, it was like, wow, I went there to get into sewing, to get my sewing machine, to tap into my love. And even though the job didn't work out, it was still like an experience to be able to walk off of a job and not look back, not be concerned about money. I was just done. It was a type of freedom that is like none other. To be able to walk off of a job and be free. And the funny thing too is that Tim was thinking about leaving his job even before I quit my job. He had started looking into going on the road. He drives trucks. And so he actually quit his job maybe a couple weeks before I quit my job, if not a week before. And so that was another thing I was thinking about when I was in that meeting with my supervisor. I was like, how can I do this if Tim just left his job? And he hadn't secured a job, but he had something in the works. I think it was the week of me quitting my job. He took the job to go on the road, and we got on the road like that same week, if not the next week. And we started traveling, and I was able to travel with him. We were just all over the region, and it was amazing. We were roughing it. A lot of it was roughing it. It was a total leap of faith. It was a total free fall for both of us. But we did it. We made it work. Tim started spiraling. Once we got out there, I had already started sewing at that time, and I was making things. And so I was in the groove of my sewing. And so whenever we weren't on the road, I would be sewing. Even before I quit my job, I would be sewing at all times of the night. It was like it was giving me energy. I would have to get up to go to work at 7 or 8 in the morning after I had just stayed up half the night sewing. And I did not feel it at all because it was just giving me life. So, and I actually recorded a video years ago when we did take that leap of faith. um, and I just realized that we had never came back on to talk about our journey and what happened after the leap of faith. It was rocky. It was a little scary, but it was still the best feeling ever to not be tied to a 9 to 5 job. And, we've had our struggles with finances, but I still wouldn't change anything. I still wouldn't go back to another 9 to 5 job. And right now, I am still sewing, mainly for myself. I did start sewing for other people at one point, and just several months ago, I decided that I was no longer going to be sewing for other people. And that's a whole nother story I'll talk about in another video. But yeah, I do talk about the story of what has happened over the years in my book. So right now, I'm just a stay-at-home wife. Sometimes I do help with Tim. He he works local now. He installs window treatments for one of the major hardware stores. And sometimes I go with him to help him out if he has a big job. But for the most part, I control my day and I decide what I do each day. So, yeah, so that's my story. It has been an adventure, to say the least. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.